catch yourself scrolling through old Instagram feeds and wondering why certain styles suddenly took over the internet, only to disappear just as fast? One year, everyone is dressed the same. The next, the aesthetic feels embarrassing, outdated, or forgotten. Internet fashion moves quickly, but the clothes behind these aesthetics don't just vanish, they leave traces. I'm Rain Richmond, and this is the Digital Wardrobe, where we explore the rise and fall of internet aesthetics through the clothes that define them. Whether you're a teen, a young adult, a fashion lover, or just someone who's curious about online culture, this podcast is for you. And today, we're talking about VSCO, an aesthetic that didn't scream for attention, didn't rely on bold statements, and yet became one of the most recognizable fashion uniforms of the internet. To understand VSCO fashion, we have to go back to where it actually started. Before it was an aesthetic, before it had a stereotype, and even before it had a name. VSCO began as a photo editing app in the mid-2010s. At the time, Instagram photos were heavily filtered. High contrast, sharp edits, bold colors. VSCO offered the opposite. Its filters were soft, muted, almost washed out. They made photos look natural, candid, and effortless. People started using VSCO to post beach photos, coffee cups, sunsets, messy bedrooms, and casual outfits. And slowly, without anyone announcing it, a pattern started forming in what people were wearing. The clothes were simple, comfortable, familiar. Oversized graphic t-shirts, often thrifted, faded, or unintentionally worn in. Athletic shorts or bike shorts that felt sporty but relaxed. Neutral colors, soft fabrics, and silhouettes that didn't cling or demand attention. These outfits photographed well with VSCO filters because they didn't compete with the image, they blended into it. First, this wasn't a look, it was just what people wore. But as more and more images like this appeared online, the clothes stopped being accidental. They became recognizable, repeatable. By the late 2010s, VSCO wasn't just an app, it was an aesthetic, and more importantly, it was a uniform. VSCO fashion had key pieces that almost everyone recognized instantly. Scrunchies became essential, not just in hair, but stacked on wrists like accessories. Oversized sweatshirts and t-shirts became a staple, often paired with hiking shorts or bike shorts. Shoes were practical and casual. Birkenstocks, Vans, Converse, Crocs. Puma shell necklaces made a comeback, coming from beach culture and early 2000s nostalgia. Pharrell Vision backpacks became part of the look, blending function with subtle branding. What's important here is that VSCO fashion wasn't about creativity, it was about consistency. Wearing VSCO clothes meant you understood the internet's visual language. The outfit said you were chill, low effort, and socially aware. You weren't trying too hard, and that was the point. And that's why VSCO spread so fast. The clothes were accessible. You didn't need designer brands or expensive styling. Most people already owned some versions of these items. VSCO fashion didn't ask you to transform your closet. It asked you to rearrange it in a way that felt socially approved online. Comfort became fashionable. But VSCO clothes weren't just about ease, they carried meaning. The aesthetic aligned itself with the ideas of simplicity, eco-consciousness, and mindfulness. Thrifted clothing was praised. Reusable water bottles became part of the visual identity. Neutral colors and relaxed silhouettes suggested a slower, calmer lifestyle. VSCO fashion sold the idea of being unbothered. The clothes told a story. You were relaxed, grounded, and not obsessed with perfection. Even though the look itself was carefully curated, VSCO made an effort to look invisible. And that's where things started to shift. And VSCO became more popular, the effortless look stopped being flexible. There was suddenly a right way to wear the clothes. Oversized but not messy. Casual but still flattering. Natural but still photogenic. What started as comfort slowly turned into conformity. VSCO fashion became easy to because it was self-specific. Once people could name the uniform, it lost its mystery. TikTok amplified this shift. VSCO girls became a stereotype. Scrunchies, hydro flasks, oversized tees, repeated until the look felt less aspirational and more predictable. At the same time, internet fashion itself was changing. TikTok pushed faster trends, louder colors, bolder silhouettes, aesthetics that emphasized personality, performance, and individuality. VSCO's quiet, neutral uniform couldn't keep up. The clothes didn't evolve, they stayed the same. And that's why VSCO faded. Not because people stopped wearing the clothes, but because they stopped labeling them. VSCO didn't disappear overnight. It dissolved into everyday fashion. Oversized tops became normal. Comfort-first outfits became expected. Neutral basics became the foundation of modern wardrobes. Today's clean girl aesthetic, minimalist fashion, and casual streetwear all borrow heavily from VSCO. The difference is that they offer new narratives. discipline, productivity, or luxury layered onto the same basic pieces. VSCO didn't fail as an aesthetic. It succeeded so completely that it became invisible. The VSCO era changed what normal clothing looks like online. It proved that aesthetic didn't need dramatic visuals to dominate the internet. It just needed to be wearable, readable, and socially reinforced. VSCO girls didn't just follow a trend. They redefined what everyday fashion looked like in the digital world. And that's the power of internet aesthetics. VSCO may no longer be a trending aesthetic, but its influence is still everywhere. The clothes that once defined an internet moment became the foundation of how we dress today, proving that while trends fade, the wardrobes they create often last much longer. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Digital Wardrobe so you don't miss the next chapter in internet fashion.